Thank you all very much for coming to the Waterford Youth Assistance Annual Meeting. For those that don't know me, where have you been? I'm Grant Smith. I'm the current chair of the volunteer board. How many have not been? This is your very first Youth Assistance Annual Meeting. All right, welcome. Hope you enjoy, and we'll come back for many more in the future. If you've not been watching the slideshow, we'll leave it running during the lunch portion of the show today. It's really a whatever. It's a history of what we've done in the last year. And it's all the good stuff that Waterford Youth Assistance has either done or participated in or helped out within the community. What I want to say, our program for today is I'm going to talk for a couple minutes right now, and then we'll break for lunch, and then afterwards I'll come back and talk for a couple more minutes, and then you have the agenda in front of you. We'll let our Vice Chair, Megan, speak. We have some awards to give out. We have the new Superintendent of Waterford Schools here to give an introductory. If he's not made it to one of your organizations yet, I mean, he has really been out in the community talking to organizations, and here's our chance for him to talk to you. One of the things that I want to talk about here at the very, very beginning is the cooperation between organizations within Waterford. An interesting thing about Waterford is that we have a tremendous amount of organizations out there that are doing great things, especially towards helping children and the schools. And we've made it a point in the last year to reach out to some of those other organizations and to try to do things with them or to coordinate with them, so we're not overlapping programs and having 2 vaping programs in the same week by 2 different organizations, and 5 people go to one and 5 go to the other. And if we could work together, you know, we can get 25, 30 people come. So the great thing is that that's been received really well from a lot of different organizations, and I enjoy getting to meet those people and help and plan things for kids. All right, everybody, welcome to the second portion of the Waterford Youth Assistance Annual Meeting. The first miracle of the day has occurred. I had some of the Italian food. The shirt is still white. Thank you very much. I did bring my coat just in case, you know, I would need to put that on to cover up, but for some reason I have actually succeeded in not getting it on me, so I'm happy about that. So hopefully you got a chance to see the PowerPoint presentation of all the great things that we have been doing in the community the last year. And I think we've had a very fantastic number of events that we've participated in and that we've sponsored. That's all the great stuff that went on last year. We did have some bumps in the road as we went along, and I don't want you to think that Waterford Youth Assistance is unlike any other organization. You have some very good times, you have some difficult times, and last year we had to make some difficult decisions as we went along, and what we were able to do from that is, after we went through and addressed some of the situations that we had a plan as to how we were going to rebuild. And we went about doing that this summer by asking our current volunteers to help us rebuild our programs. One thing that's really interesting about youth assistance in general is that there is a model that has succeeded for over 60 years, is that you have an executive board, you have a board, and you have programs that you run that are run by committees, and you have committee chair people, and you have volunteers that assist the committee chairperson. They plan their meetings, they report to the board, and when you follow that model, things really work well. And then, like any other organization, when things are starting to work really, really well, you start to say, well, maybe we should try this, or maybe we should try that. and you start to venture away from the model that has worked well for 60 years. So we took this summer and went back to the beginning, to the model, and we put the word out to our volunteers that we needed their help. And we planned a meeting, and I walked into that room and saw 16 to 20 volunteers there willing to help us out. And I was never more relieved in my life and so happy to see that many people. And from that meeting, we had people volunteer to step up and help serve on committees and serve as chair people and begin to put the plan in place to where right now I am as optimistic about things happening in Waterford Youth Assistance than I have been for a long, long time. We have a lot of new programs planned for this year. Not new programs, new events from within programs. We have the opportunity, as you may have seen, to participate with the Oakland County Youth Assistance to bring in a speaker from up in the UP to speak about suicide awareness and prevention. I don't think that we would have been in a position that we could have done that if we were still working in the same way that we were last year. The Bucket of Love group is really doing a wonderful job of going out and recruiting new members. I'm trying my best to get new members to come or new volunteers for the Mentors Plus program. Clearly, mentoring is something that's very, very important to me. It's how I got started as a volunteer. And when you get to work one-on-one with a student that needs some assistance, and you can see them develop and you can see them grow, and you get that feeling that you've made a difference. And I think that's what any volunteer really wants to do, is they want to make a difference. So our two mentoring programs are doing very, very well. We've got people planning youth and family education programs. We have our public relations guru who's helping us get the word out about youth assistance in ways that we had never done before. And remarkably, we had a 3-hour review of our bylaws that was actually fun. I know that's hard to believe, but we had it at Buffalo Wild Wings. And I haven't reviewed my notes from that meeting yet, but I'm pretty sure that everybody that was at that meeting remarked that was more fun than they thought it was going to be. So we're making great strides with our chair people and planning the coming year. The one thing that I'm really excited about is to continue to reach out and work with other organizations. I'm really excited to hear Scott talk about the schools wanting to reach out to the organizations in the community and get them more involved in the schools. So I think there's a great year ahead for youth assistance. And with that, I will look over and I will introduce our Vice Chair, Megan.
How's everybody doing? Thank you, Grant. So Grant touched on a number of things that I was going to say. So thanks, Grant. Mine's going to be short and sweet. I just want to thank everybody once again for being here. I'm so happy to see so many familiar faces and some new faces too. Saw a lot of hands go up for your first time joining us, and we're so pleased to have you here. So as you're sitting here enjoying your lunch and you've seen the slideshow, you've heard Grant share about some of our amazing programs and volunteers, I know you're thinking, how can I get involved? So my little pitch to you, and I'm not asking for a large commitment, I jotted down a few things that you may be able to do within 5 or 10 minutes of your day or your week. So if you have 5 to 10 minutes, you find yourself with some free time, you could check out our website or Facebook, share one of our upcoming events, talk to your kiddos or your neighbors and post a flyer at your office or at your school about something that we have coming up within the community. If you find yourself with an hour a month, you might be able to join one of our board of directors meetings or pop in at one of the committee meetings and programs to find out a little bit more information. If you have 2 to 3 hours a month, maybe you want to become a task volunteer or sit in on our fundraising meetings and offer some fresh and new perspectives and ideas to partner with our other businesses or organizations. We have our Bucket of Love and our mentoring program, which require about an hour a week or sometimes more if you have more time to commit. Or maybe you find yourself with a free evening or a random an opportunity to join one of our family and youth educational programs, which we're beginning to offer more and more. You can find those dates on our website and our Facebook. So we need your support to raise awareness about all of the great things that the Youth Assistance is doing. So I am reaching out to all of you as our community partners, our friends, our family members, to say, share the word about Waterford Youth Assistance. We have an exciting new team. We're growing, and I'm very excited to continue my journey with them. So we hope that you'll join us along for this year and beyond, and we'll be telling about all of our great successes this year at our next annual meeting. So thank you all for joining us today. What I would like to do next is introduce our guest speaker. We do have Scott Lindbergh here to join us. Thank you. Do you mind if I say a couple of words here? Sure. Okay, so before we let Scott jump right in, so Scott Lindbergh, our new superintendent for the Waterford School District, started his career in education in 1994. Correct me if I get anything wrong. Okay, for middle and high school students at South Redford and Livonia Public Schools. In 1999, he became the assistant principal at a high school in Dexter Community Schools, and later the principal at Oak Valley Middle School in Huron Valley. Mr. Lindbergh was appointed Executive Director of Human Resources for Huron Valley Schools in 2013, and then moving to the role of Assistant Superintendent of Administrative Services and Human Resources in 2017. In the summer, he wonderfully has joined our team. He was appointed by the Waterford School Board as the new superintendent for Waterford School District. Pleased and thrilled to have you join us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everyone. First of all, I want to make sure I thank all the volunteers and all the good work that you do here. Really, for me to stand here in front of you is on the shoulders of so many that came before me. When I was a young lad, my parents divorced, and I became one of those latchkey kids. I became one of those kids that very quickly was the oldest in the family. This was in second grade. I had a younger brother and sister. I was one of those kids that would go down to the office. I don't know why they did this then, but you'd pick out your red ticket, which meant you could get lunch for 10 cents. And so, you know, it was kind of a rough beginning. Things changed in those first couple of years. But there were so many that stepped into the gap for me through the years. So many mentors. Raise your hand if you had a mentor or teachers that stepped into the gap for you, or neighbors or family members. I could list all of those people. And so it's when I think about being superintendent, when I'm driving in today, I'm really not a big deal. I'm here representing you, the community, and our students, over 8,000 students. But I appreciate that you all step into the gap for these students and these families every single day. It makes a great difference. In fact, I am having lunch. I'm honored to have lunch with my first grade teacher in a week and a half. She is now 87 years old, and so she had heard somehow that I had been honored to be your superintendent, and so she reached out to me, actually my mother first, and I'm thinking, Mom, why do we want to do this? And she did, so I said, okay, let's set up lunch. And so I'm looking forward to just thanking her for all of the work that she did in the lives of me. She was also a teacher for my brother 2 years, first and third grade, and also for my sister. And so again, this is a teacher. I could talk to you about the neighbors that stepped into the gap for me, that provided me support through the years. The other teachers that came in and said, Scott, you can do better. You know, when you're looking at the decision between algebra or lower math, you can do better. You need to go into algebra. I could talk to you about the teacher who stayed after school a number of afternoons in 5th grade and really helped me understand division. I remember that to this day. I could speak to you about the family members that were there who actually brought food over to our home when our cupboards were bare. Isn't that interesting? If our kids, and my own kids will look in, and the pantry is full, and they'll say, what do they say?
What's for dinner?
Yeah, well, they say, what's for dinner, or there's no food. I'm thinking, my gosh, there's enough food in here to eat for the next 3 weeks. If you can't find something, you're out of luck. And so I just thank you for all of that. I have enjoyed each step of the process of getting where I'm at today, and I'm humbled to be here before you. It's so important the work that we do to come together as a community to represent our families and to stand in the gap for our kids and community, and I thank you for that. One of the things reminds me, about 20 years ago, as was mentioned, I became an administrator for the first time, and I think my wife picked up, I thought that was a pretty big deal. I've got the Nextel. Anybody remember those Nextels? They would beep, and they flip over, it was kind of like Nash Bridges on Channel 2, on CBS, and we're going out to dinner, and I'm thinking, hey, we're going to celebrate, right? My wife is feeling pretty good. Her husband's, 30 years old, administrator. She says, hey, bud, let me tell you something. I know you think you're a big deal, but there's hundreds like you across the state, so just knock it off. And I remember that because she really grounds me, and she's right. We all fill a role, whether it's superintendent, or it's a volunteer, or it's a board member, or teachers, administrators, community members. We all step into the gap, so it takes all of us. And I appreciate all that you do for that. The one thing I do want to leave you with is I come across this with my own kids. I come across this certainly as a principal and as teacher, is this idea of a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. When we're working with kids, quite frankly, when we're working with adults as well, but when we're working with our students, this fixed mindset, and this comes from research from Carol DeWick. If you ever wanted to take a look, you can pull her up on the web. There's some videos. It takes you through. You get the idea in 6 to 10 minutes. But it was a good book, I think, published back in 05 or 06, talking about a fixed mindset means you can't grow. You can't change. You can't be about continuous improvement. And if you can't be about continuous improvement, your options are going to be limited. But if you're about a growth mindset, anything is possible. And I'm standing here in front of you today to say anything is possible. If I can be standing here in front of you, any one of our kids can do anything. But it takes people like us, like you, to step into the gap for these kids. I think about my grandmother who I was involved with hospice about 1.5 years ago. I wish she could be here today to see where I'm at. Many times she stepped in the gap for me and my brother and sister. I wouldn't be here without my grandmother. I wouldn't be here without the teachers. There are kids in our community that wouldn't be where they're at without the help of the Waterford Youth Assistance Organization. They would not be there. And so we want to continue to do this very important work. I want to encourage you. It makes a difference. It made a difference in my life. And I look to make that difference in everyone's life going forward. So with that, I thank you. Please keep in mind the growth mindset. Anything is possible. We want to make sure that our kids know that they have options, no matter where they've been, what situations they have found themselves in, what mistakes they've made. It doesn't matter. It's moving forward and looking at your options and doing better down the road. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much and for joining us. Next, I would like to introduce our own local rock star, Stacy Williams, the youth assistance caseworker, case manager, and the other half of what the youth assistance offers to our community. Come on up.
Thank you, Megan. So as many of you might already know, I'm Stacy Williams, the full-time caseworker here at Waterford Youth Assistance. I'm grateful to be part of the team here going on my 5th year. I could not be any more proud of all the great things that we accomplished together and look forward to seeing what the future holds. The past year, it's been the busiest in the office within the last 10 years. I spent the majority of my time working with youth and families on my caseload. In this last program year, we received over 274 referrals for students in Waterford alone who need support and services. One of my main goals with the referral information that I receive is provide the Board of Directors with trends on casework services to help drive and develop our programs. Over the past year, referrals for school incorrigibility and truancy increased. While middle school students are our largest population served by WYA, we have seen an increase in high school referrals due to vaping-related offenses. Referrals for prevention services, which include counseling and/or referrals to additional community resources for food, housing, financial or mental health assistance, has almost doubled. Due to the increase in referrals and the need of the casework services, the Oakland County Circuit Court Family Division was able to place a part-time caseworker in the Waterford office on Mondays and Tuesdays. Brittany, if you could please stand and raise your hand. She has begun accepting referrals since the beginning of this month. I want to take an opportunity to thank the numerous volunteers that help make Waterford Youth Assistance such an amazing organization. We have successfully recruited new volunteers over the summer, and I'm thrilled that some of them have accepted positions on our Board of Directors. We spent the time over the summer to reevaluate our programs and set up new committees, which include public relations and membership and fundraising to help support our continued program. WYA has over 50 volunteers that range in different levels of commitment that help implement our programs. In the last program year, our dedicated volunteers spent over 2,947 hours serving the youth and families in Waterford. At a national recognized rate of $25.43 per hour, their contributions total approximately $75,000 to prevention programs and served over 2,053 youths and adults. That's pretty amazing. Our goal is to keep in mind how we can best support the youth and families along with the community in Waterford for future success. I foresee a fantastic year of growth, opportunities, and giving back to such a wonderful Waterford community. I would like to take a moment to recap some of our programs. In the 2018-2019 program year, we provided 38 students with positive role models in the community through the Bucket of Love and Mentors Plus program. Bucket of Love mentors and mentees enjoyed special events throughout the year, which include pumpkin painting with cider and donuts, the annual holiday luncheon with a visit from Santa, and the end of the year spring event at Hess Hathaway, which included a hayride and a tour from Farmer John. Mentors Plus matches enjoyed activities together through the Oakland County and residential fairs, and tickets to the Detroit Tigers and Pistons games. Both mentoring programs are in need of volunteers, and just 1 or 2 hours a week can make a difference in their lives. This past year, our Family and Youth Education Committee hosted 10 events, which include topics such as suicide and substance abuse prevention, mental health and child abuse awareness, and the consequences of social media with Oakland County's Assistant Chief Prosecutor, Paul Walton. We also partner with Catholic Charities of Southeast Michigan to provide therapeutic groups on topics of building confidence and empowerment for middle school girls, stress relief for high school students, and building connections with peers. Last year, we served over 170 students within this committee alone. At the 2019 Youth Recognition Ceremony, the committee honored over 75 Waterford students for their volunteerism and their positive contributions to Waterford community. Several honorees included groups like the Environmental Recycling and Care Team at Houghton, the Safety Patrol Captain at Riverside, and the Cooley Girl Scout troops. Additional acts of kindness were spread throughout the community in the stories of honorees who rescued an animal from the Detroit Dog Rescue, participated in moonbeams for Sweet Dreams at a local hospital, and helped senior citizens at assisted living facilities like Canterbury on the Lake and Lord's Senior Community. We appreciate all the nominators' efforts to help recognize these wonderful students. New this year, our ceremony is going to be earlier than in the past, and it will take place on Wednesday, March 18th. So please mark your calendar and join us for an incredible night of celebration of personal achievement in students. This past year, the Youth Enrichment and Camp Committee was busy awarding over 106 scholarships to Waterford students participating in skill-building activities such as Corsair football and cheerleading, Farm and Oak Venture Camp through Parks and Rec, Summer Academy through Waterford School Districts, and a week-long overnight camp through Camp Copacabana, Camp Skylight, and Camp Oasis. These scholarships are very important to our mission because skill-building activities keep children engaged in the community, help build social networks, and keep kids busy. These scholarships offered help to lighten the financial burden for families who may not be able to afford and participate otherwise. I'm excited for our new committee and all the new ideas that they have to offer the community. Our annual meeting today provides you a small glimpse into the hard work and commitment of Waterford Youth Assistance volunteers. Waterford Youth Assistance is a community collaboration, and our successes directly result with the support that we receive from our volunteers and our sponsorships. I would like to take a quick moment to recognize and thank our sponsors, which include Waterford Township, Waterford School District, and the Oakland County Circuit Court Family Division. We're so thankful to have such great support network, and I want to personally thank everyone who plays a role in making Waterford Youth Assistance successful. Next, I would like to introduce Mary Schusterbauer. She's going to do the installation of our Board of Directors. Mary is currently the Chief of Oakland Youth Assistance. It is a prevention arm of the Oakland County Circuit Court Family Division. Youth Assistance has 26 offices throughout the county. Mary has been employed for the court since 1986, where she served in several communities as a caseworker, then supervisor, prior to be appointed to the Chief's position in 2003. Earlier in her career, Mary worked at several agencies such as Vista Maria, Boysville, Bartville Family Center, and Orchard Children's Services. Because of these experience, she's enthusiastic about being at the helm of an organization that dedicated to youth prevention. Mary is a graduate from Michigan State University. She has done graduate work in both education and special education at Eastern Michigan University, and she's a former school board member and a mother of 2 adult children. Please welcome Mary.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, so Grant's going to come up and assist me with this. Okay, so Grant's going to introduce who it is that I'm installing. Oh,
Okay.
Would you like that?
President Grant Smith.
I told you to start from the bottom.
Is Officer Andy here today? Okay. Craig Bloomquist, please come on up. He is our Waterford School District Liaison. Anthony Bartolotta is our liaison from the Waterford Township. He's a trustee. Julie Joslin is our Camp and Youth Enrichment Chairman, and she is a school board member. Is that okay? Jessica Pumphrey. I hope I didn't get that wrong. I got it? All right. Youth Recognition Co-Chairman. Jim Barrett is our Public Relations and Membership Chairperson. Tracy Ross is our Family and Youth Education Chairperson. I don't believe she is here today. Christine Lustig is our Bucket of Love Co-Chair. And her partner in success is Joyce Weffel. I didn't get a mean stare, so I must have gotten close with that. Okay. All right. On our executive committee, our treasurer and fundraising chairperson is Jeremy Young. I didn't dare mispronounce his name. Megan Dennis, Vice President and Youth Recognition Chair.
And Grant Smith. So, as your superstar Stacy Williams mentioned, there were over 2,000 hours of volunteer time dedicated to Waterford Youth Assistance through the board and all of the volunteers. So I want to thank you for making Waterford a better place to live, work, and play. But I also want to mention that we have 26 offices around Oakland County. And so when you put all of our offices together, we have about 1,000 volunteers that every year give between 45,000 and 50,000 hours of time to strengthening youth and families throughout the county. So a stronger Waterford, but also a stronger Oakland County, and you are part of that network. So now I'm going to install this auspicious board. Okay, would you please raise your right hand? And I'm going to ask you some questions, and if you agree to do those things, please say I will. Will you, as officers of youth assistance, hold the welfare of youth paramount in all that you do? I will. Will you work toward the prevention of child abuse and neglect and juvenile delinquency by regularly attending youth assistance meetings and supporting the efforts of the Board of Directors? I will. Will you support the bylaws of the Youth Assistance Board? I will. So you did that work on the bylaws, right? So now everybody's going to know about them, right? Okay. And will you provide leadership to those who have elected you for the upcoming year? You are duly installed. Thank you so much. So, but if you would all sit down except the officers. Would the officers just stay 1 minute so the rest of you can take your seat? I'm not going to do anything real special, but I want you to pay special attention to these folks. When I go around from youth assistance office to youth assistance office, I am always so pleased with all the volunteers. I'm excited to be part of the organization, but I have extra special respect for the people who step up to take the lead and be officers on our board. Because, you know, it was referenced that there was some change, there was some restructuring, there was growth and development, and it's because of these people putting in all the hard work. So special thank you to all of you. You're allowed to sit now.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary, and to all of our volunteers, thank you so much. Next, I would like to talk about our Volunteer of the Year. You may know him. He's been a part of our presentation so far. Grant Smith has been selected as our Volunteer of the Year. So I first want to say congratulations and thank you. It's been my pleasure working with you on this board for the last couple of years. And I want to share a little bit about what makes Grant so special and why he was chosen as our Volunteer of the Year. So he has offered guidance and encouragement and support to many individuals over the years. He began volunteering in 2010 when he became a mentor to an 11-year-old Andrew, and a year later, his brother Aaron. He helped them to gain the confidence to play sports, to succeed academically, and find the right course for their careers. Along the way, he became the chair of our Mentors Plus program, where he helped other matches by planning monthly group outings, including scavenger hunts, cooking and baking nights, and a night of mystery. In 2014, Grant took on the role as the vice chairman for Youth Assistance and began to learn all about many programs in Waterford Youth Assistance. 18 months later, he became the board president. What started with just 2 mentees grew into something that solidified the importance of the Waterford Youth Assistance to so many in the Waterford community. In addition to his work with the Youth Assistance, Grant is a member of the Mentors Plus Advisory Committee and is an administrator on their Facebook page. He also helps to plan the annual picnic, where he gets to call the annual water balloon toss competition, and his chili receives rave reviews. Grant also serves on the Oakland County Youth Assistance Coordinating Council Executive Board. This group meets monthly and helps facilitate workshops for all of the youth assistance offices in the county. He is currently the vice chair and has emceed the last 2 office secretary annual luncheons. Grant is a new member of the Breakfast Optimist Club of Waterford. He began attending meetings as a friend of the Optimists and then became an active volunteer. As he got to know about the mission of the Optimist Club, he saw areas where both youth assistants and optimists overlap. The two groups have worked together on several projects and have impacted both individuals and groups of students within Waterford. Along the way, there's just been a lot of laughs and good times. I agree. Great partnership there. This September, Grant was awarded the Governor's Service Award as Mentor of the Year. The ceremony was held at the Detroit Opera House in downtown Detroit. He even got to meet the governor and talk with her for almost a whole minute. By the way, Grant does have a full-time job. He's working 40 hours a week for News America Marketing as a business report and project specialist. When he isn't working or volunteering, Grant enjoys going to auto races, at short tracks, which is new lingo to me, throughout Michigan, and classic and rock and country concerts. So without further ado, my pleasure to introduce our Volunteer of the Year, Grant Smith. Thank you. Would you like to say anything?
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to keep this real short. I mentioned earlier that mentoring was my entrance into volunteering. I think all of us in this room probably can remember the first time they raised their hands and volunteered. I would like to encourage all of you to continue to raise your hands, to do great things for the students and families in Waterford. Certainly any organization, there's two things that really help any organization: that's funding and volunteers, and I'm asking you to help us any way that you can in either of those, but talking to your friends and saying, hey, I know this organization that could really use your help for going to one event and helping out traffic control, or helping tell people where to go and where to sit at an event. We could use those people, and maybe those people will like what they see and become more interested, because that's what I did. I started at the bottom and I became more and more interested, and I saw the need and I wanted to do more and more, and I know there are people out there that are looking for something to do rather than to see the Big Bang Theory for the 35th time, the same episode. So please reach out to your friends, and if any of you want to help out, we'd appreciate that also. So thank you. Come over here.
Oh, photo first. Thank you. Do you want the box?
I'll get it later.
All right, thank you so much. Next, it is my pleasure to introduce Teresa and Charlie Fortino. We are presenting a student, and they're going to tell more about this, with the 8th annual Betty Fortino Phoenix Scholarship Award. And for those of you who are newer to Waterford, Betty Fortino was a past Waterford Township clerk that supported youth assistance for many years. She was an active board member and youth recognition chairperson, and a firm believer in volunteerism. And I'm happy to say that Teresa and Charlie are continuing in that effort in supporting youth assistance for many, many years. We thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here today. For those of you that don't know, as she just explained, my mother was, Betty Fortino was the township clerk for 26 years, and she loved this community, and she loved the people in it, and she had a special place in her heart for the Waterford Youth Assistants. So in her memory, my brothers and I have established the Fortino Phoenix Scholarship, and it's hard to believe that it's the 8th one. We all face challenges in our lives, and some of them are of our own making. Others are forced upon us by outside influences. I used to tell my children, it's not how many times you fall down, but how many times you get up that will define your life. Devian Johnson is an example of what it means to get back up. He has done just that and has stayed the course. And we would like to congratulate him on his past accomplishments and wish him the best in all his future endeavors. Please join me in congratulating Devian Johnson.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to say this is such an honor to be in front of everyone right now. You guys are amazing, and everything you do is phenomenal, and I aspire to be people like you when I'm older. So I'm gonna just jump into it. My first experience of volunteerism brings me back to the second grade when my teacher asked for some of the strongest boys in the class to help transport some of the foods that we raised for a family in need for Thanksgiving. I got a real-time reaction of the mother, and to me as a kid, it was enlightening and a very teachable moment. Now being a senior in high school, that flashbulb memory was over a decade ago, and it still drives me to reach out and make change to as many people as I could possibly get to. Volunteerism in my life has taught me humbleness, commitment, and selflessness. I was an active member of my elementary school's NEHS, National Elementary Honor Society, and that is where I learned that I had the potential to help tutor kids and have a helping presence around my community. I briefly lived in Muncie, Indiana, and my life in a city compared to suburban Waterford taught me a lot, and one of those things was that I learned about a role and presence of volunteerism and how important it was to a broken community. I was able to observe and see and feel what it was like to be part of an active Boys and Girls Club, and I was able to be a part of community-led events that the Boys and Girls Club sponsored. I was able to see things like passing out backpacks full of school supplies to kids that a day prior had nothing to walk into class with. Events like this made me get closer, move personal, and more personal with the people in my own community. More importantly, the best thing that I noticed that these people that were handing out the backpacks and supplies were going through their own financial struggles too. Community interactions like this weren't just the rich helping the poor, it was true, genuine love from inside the community, and I live for things like that. Seeing people from the community with financial troubles set aside all their problems and commit to helping out other people around them only showed selflessness and humbleness that I had to be grateful for what I had. Growing up, I learned that your community has your back and you should be able to rely on them. I was a kid going to soup kitchens, receiving free food, and getting free school supplies too. More recently, I wanted to take a lead role in our school's basketball team toy drive to another level and giving back to the community. With my leadership roles in National Honor Society, Link Crew, Student Council, and the basketball program, I wanted to volunteer my time and gather enough toys for 2 elementary schools. Last year we just did 1. This year I want to tackle 2 in the area and go around spreading the love to kids where the home finances can't provide a promising Christmas. Being part of a small community-led event last year made me realize how important selflessness, commitment, humbleness, and more importantly, volunteerism can positively affect my surrounding community and how I take these life lessons and work on the next biggest way I can get to another great cause. Ever since that first experience of volunteering, I've concluded that throughout all this time, this would be something I would fall in love with someday. And still to this day, you'll see me around all of Mott's home athletics, seeing if there's something needed to be done. Volunteering has helped me mold myself and to be the great young man that my community needs me to be. Thank you.
All right. All right, we have the new defensive line for the Detroit Lions ready to auction off, or actually...
They better pay me a lot.
Okay, so if you got a ticket when you came in. Closing remarks is thank you for coming. Appreciate your attendance here. Hopefully we've encouraged you to know a little bit more about youth assistance and to become a little bit more involved in our organization.